From Walt's ugly Aztek to Skyler's minivan and even Flynn's Chrysler PT Cruiser, we move up the ranks with Hank's Jeep Commander to eventually get to the holy grail of Breaking Bad vehicles.
We were supposed to start at 3.
Hey, I'm out there making fat stacks, man. Chill.
But you'll never guess which was dubbed the ugliest car of the show. So, let's start with that one, Jesse's Toyota Tercel. What, you thought that Walter White's Pontiac Aztek was going to be the worst car from Breaking Bad? Guess again. That spot definitely goes to Jesse and his 1986 Toyota Tercel. Jesse got it after Tuco and Hank completely annihilated his 1982 Chevy Monte Carlo lowrider during the shootout, and the car was probably impounded afterwards. Plus, you can't be driving a flashy car like that when you go to the DEA for questioning, more times than you go to the supermarket. Anywho, let's get back to why this car was the worst, besides doing to the eyes what sulfuric acid does to the skin. First off, do you know how much horsepower this thing was working with? In its North American 1.5-liter configuration, the engine produced just about 63 horsepower. That modest output meant sluggish acceleration and barely adequate performance. In a first-hand account of driving Jesse's actual Tercel, a writer described the experience as, "The steering wheel feels like it isn't connected to the wheels. With a gearbox so sloppy, you're almost never in a gear." On top of that, the four-wheel drive wagon's primitive drivetrain gave it a granny gear, low range designed for off-road mud or sand, not driving around Albuquerque. In the show's universe, this car hurt Jesse in several ways. It was weather-beaten and dilapidated, a far cry from the flashy rides many of his peers had, which reinforced his outsider, down-on-his-luck status. The only good thing we can say for this car is that Jesse got to smash that like button, just like you should if you haven't done so already. But no, in all seriousness, the only good thing about the Tercel is that he got to drive Jane in it, the first and last love of his life. So, do you still think Walt had a worse car than Jesse? Speaking of which, White's Pontiac Aztek. Few cars have been as iconic as the Pontiac Aztek throughout the 5 seasons of Breaking Bad. It might have been a reliable car and something a square like a high school chemistry teacher would drive, but it was ugly. How ugly? It was so ugly that people described it as deformed, scary, or resembling an angry kitchen appliance. It has awkward proportions, a tiny hood, a boxy slab-sided body, small wheels, and heavy plastic cladding. All of this makes it look top-heavy and clunky rather than sleek. This visual ugliness aligns with Walter's character arc. We started off with a well-respected high school chemistry teacher turned down on his luck everyman. And the Aztek's bland, awkward look underscores his decaying, boring life. Many critics say the producers intentionally used the Aztek as a form of car casting, matching its oddness to Walter's gradual transformation. On the spec side, the Aztek is powered by a 3.4-liter V6 producing 185 horsepower and 210 pound-feet of torque. It seats 5, rides on a front-wheel drive, FWD setup, with AWD optional, and offers up to 95.1 cubic feet of cargo volume. Its 0 to 60 miles per hour time is often cited around 9.2 seconds, which is as unremarkable as the Walt we met in Breaking Bad's pilot. In short, the Aztek isn't mechanically terrible. In fact, you could make a great case that it's a reasonably practical car, which is probably why Walt was driving it in the first place. But as the show progressed and Walter's character transformed, we needed something flashier, which we'll talk about in a minute. But first, we need to cover another ugly car that made it on the show.
You all know exactly who I am. Say my name.
Gustavo's 1998 Volvo 570. He might be the producer and distributor of a massive drug underworld, but during the day, he's Gustavo Fring, a local businessman who franchised his own chain of fast food restaurants. He leads an unremarkable public life, and that's why he needs a car that fits within this narrative. That's why the 1998 Volvo V70 is perfect for that. Visually, the 1998 V70 is plain and utilitarian, a dark blue station wagon with a bland shape. Nothing sleek or showy. That simplicity works perfectly for Gus's character. A calm, controlled, unassuming presence who hides massive wealth and power behind modest appearances. The choice of a bland wagon rather than a flashy luxury car helps him blend in, reinforcing his ability to operate under the radar. In terms of specs, the 1998 V70 typically came with a 2.4-liter, 5-cylinder petrol engine producing about 168 horsepower at 6,100 RPM. It was configured as a 5-door wagon, seating 5 people, with a cargo capacity, behind rear seats, of around 37.1 cubic feet. Fuel economy was modest, roughly 20 miles per gallon in the city. So while the V70 isn't ugly in a grotesque way, its bland, practical design is exactly what makes it unsettling.
I have to ask.
Honorable mentions. Before we move on to some of the cooler cars on this list, I feel like it's my duty to mention two more ugly cars on this list. The first one would be Skyler White's Jeep Grand Wagoneer, which looked like the perfect old-fashioned mom car. It was boxy, reliable, and looked like it weighed a few tons. Basically, it's the closest you can get to a tank, and the car perfectly matched Skyler's character. But the second car, and also one of the ugliest cars ever introduced by a company, has to be Walt Jr.'s Chrysler PT Cruiser. But what can you expect when your mom buys you a car for your 16th birthday? But at this point, I think Walt Jr. would have preferred if Skyler also forgot his birthday like Walt. Seriously, like, which designer thought this car would look good? It's a contraceptive on four wheels, which cannot be said enough.
This is, Raisin Bran, not Raisin Bran Crunch.
Hank's 2006 Jeep Commander. A great name for a car that would become synonymous with ASAC Schrader. This matches Hank's role as a tough, no-nonsense DEA agent. Meanwhile, the vehicle visually conveys power and durability. Compare the Commander with the compact, awkward cars before it. Its boxy, squared-off design with an upright windshield, substantial stance, and a 3-row 7-passenger layout gives it a rugged, authoritative presence. Under the hood, a typical 2006 Commander is powered by a 3.7-liter V6 engine, producing about 213 horsepower and 235 pound-feet of torque. It rides on a full-time 4-wheel drive system with a 5-speed automatic transmission, ideal for stability and command on and off-road. Dimension-wise, it measures roughly 188.5 inches long, 74.8 inches wide, and 71.9 inches tall, giving it a sturdy SUV silhouette. In short, it became Hank's badge of authority. And speaking of authority, Mike's 1988 Chrysler Fifth Avenue. The 1988 Fifth Avenue stands out as a classic full-size American sedan. It's large, stately, and unpretentious. Its hefty, boxy silhouette and conservative design give it a subtle authority. Basically, it's perfect for Mike's calm, no-nonsense, and quietly ominous presence. The car doesn't scream luxury or flash, but rather reliability and old-school solidity. The modest maroon sedan blends into the background, letting Mike move without drawing attention while still carrying weight and presence. This matches Mike, a cleaner, fixer, and enforcer. It's understated but also dangerous. Ring any bells? Under the hood, the 1988 Fifth Avenue uses a 5.2-liter V8, 318 cubic inches, rear-wheel drive engine paired with a 3-speed automatic transmission. It produces roughly 150 horsepower and 265 pound-feet of torque. The car measures about 5,250 millimeters, 206.7 inches, long and 1,840 millimeters, 74.2 inches, wide, giving it substantial road presence.
I gotta say, I don't like the way you're looking at me right now.
Goodman's Cadillac DeVille. The Cadillac DeVille is a classic and unmistakably American. In the show, the car's long, elegant sedan profile with a large passenger cabin and an even larger presence mirrors Saul's loud, showy, and flashy. The DeVille is Goodman's alter ego. It speaks of "I made it" and suggests money, status, and a certain shady charm. That pairs perfectly with Saul's morally gray, hustling lawyer character. In terms of specs, a typical late 1990s DeVille had a 4.6-liter Northstar 5.8 engine, producing around 275 horsepower and roughly 295 pound-feet of torque. The DeVille rides on front-wheel drive, seats 5 comfortably, and offers a smooth, cushioned ride. It's ideal for Saul's style of appearing relaxed and in control, even when things are messy.
Objection! Oh, Mr. Goodman, really?
You didn't recognize him either, Your Honor.
SRT 8s. But before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you like the video so far. Walter White's driveway used to be a quiet place. It was marked by an Aztek parked beside a modest family home. But the day he rolled up in a Chrysler 300 SRT 8, everything changed. The big sedan rumbled like a declaration of war. Its 6.1-liter Hemi V8, pushing 425 horsepower, wasn't just an engine. It was Walter's confession that he'd crossed a line. The car's brutal power and bold stance mirrored his transformation from a soft-spoken teacher into someone who finally liked being feared. Then came the Dodge Challenger SRT-8 for Walt Jr., the bright, aggressive muscle car. This one was also running on Chrysler's 6.1-liter HEMI, with 425 horsepower and 420 pound-feet of torque. Basically, it symbolized a fantasy and the image of a successful father giving his son the kind of life he never had. But underneath the roar of the V8 was something darker. The Challenger wasn't really about Walt Jr. at all. It was Walter proving to the world that he could provide anything, no matter the cost. Together, the two SRT-8s became rolling monuments to Walter White's rising ego.
I am not in danger, Skyler. I am the danger.
1986, Fleetwood Bounder. Technically, this is an RV, but it became the soul and the essence of Breaking Bad. It helped the characters grow. It helped them mature, grow their business, and eventually it got impounded because Schrader almost caught Pinkman. That's why the 1986 Fleetwood Bounder is less of a transportation and more like an empire on wheels. For Walter White and Jesse Pinkman, the RV is a hidden, self-contained world away from prying eyes. Its battered, old-school exterior and cramped interior mirror their desperate grasp for control and anonymity. The RV's faded paint and aging body emphasize how the characters operate on the outskirts of society. The Bounder line from the mid-1980s was built as a full-size Class C motorhome. Typical Fleetwood Bounders of that era measured around 24 to 26 feet in length and were built on a heavy-duty chassis with a gasoline engine, often a V8, designed for long highway cruising and carrying heavy loads such as water tanks, fuel, appliances, and equipment. No car has even become more synonymous with a TV show.
We have to move our product in bulk, wholesale.
Thanks for watching. Here's another video car enthusiast loved watching.